Welcome to today's deep dive. I'm your host, and we've got a really fascinating topic today that affects literally everyone listening.
Hey everyone, I am so glad to be here to unpack this one with you.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So I want to kick off this deep dive with a question that came straight out of our source material today. It's a hypothetical, but I really want you, the listener, to be honest with yourself.
Oh, the lottery question.
Exactly. If you won the lottery tomorrow, and I'm talking the massive walk away from everything generational wealth jackpot, would you still show up to work on Monday morning?
For the vast majority of people, the answer is a hard, resounding absolutely not.
Right. And look, hopefully your job gives you purpose. Hopefully you like your coworkers, you find the challenges interesting, and you're not miserable.
Sure, purpose is great.
But let's not kid ourselves. The primary reason we trade 40, 50, or 60 hours of our week is for the paycheck. It is, at its core, a transaction.
It is the fundamental exchange. You are trading your time and your skill for capital.
But here's the problem. And this is exactly what our sources are just screaming about today. We all think about money. We all work for money. But nobody wants to actually talk about money.
It's the great taboo.
Yeah. It feels rude. It feels unseemly. Or worse, it feels greedy.
Right. And what we're going to unpack today is that this discomfort isn't accidental. It is, to quote the text directly, by design. We are dealing with a classic case of information asymmetry here.
Okay, that sounds like an economics term. Break that down for us.
Yeah, so information asymmetry is simply when one party in a transaction has more or better information than the other. In salary negotiations, the employer holds all the cards.
Because they are the budget.
Exactly. They know the budget, they know what your peers make down to the penny, and they know the exact market rate because they're hiring people all the time. You, on the other hand, usually know absolutely none of that.
So when we feel awkward asking for a raise or we feel it's somehow unprofessional to discuss salary with a colleague, that social pressure actually serves the employer's bottom line.
Precisely. If you never talk about salary, you never realize you're underpaid. The silence keeps the payroll budget down. It isn't even necessarily some grand conspiracy. It's just business efficiency for them.
Wow. So our mission today is to break that conditioning for you. We are going to look at the money talk not as begging and not as some aggressive confrontation, but as a business transaction between equals.
A level playing field.
Right. And we have a really tactical stack of notes today. We aren't just talking mindset. We are going to cover how to build your case, the exact script for the meeting, including this psychological trick everyone messes up, and the very uncomfortable math regarding inflation.
We'll also cover what to do when the answer is no. Because as we'll see, a no is actually just data.
Okay, let's unpack this. The first thing that really hit me in the reading was a very harsh reality check regarding loyalty.
Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow. The source material puts it incredibly bluntly. It says, loyalty doesn't pay your bills. Neither does passion.
See, I think a lot of us fall into this trap. We think, well, I've been here 5 years, I've never complained, I work late, surely they'll take care of me.
But that's projecting a personal relationship onto a business entity.
Right, which is a mistake.
A huge mistake. Companies generally don't give raises out of the goodness of their hearts. They make business decisions based on retention and market value. If they can retain you for the exact same price, the logical business decision is to not increase their costs.
So if we are treating this like a business case, how do you prepare? Because the text says the biggest mistake people make happens way before they even schedule the meeting with their boss.
The fatal mistake is waiting until you are angry or desperate for the money to start proving you deserve it. By then, it is way too late. You need to be building your case all year long. The sources call this the wins document.
I've heard this called a brag sheet or a smile file before. But practically speaking, what does this actually look like? Because I can barely remember what I had for lunch yesterday, let alone what I achieved at work 3 months ago.
And that's exactly why you need it. Human memory is totally fallible, and your boss is certainly not tracking your micro wins. The wins document is a living file. You should open it every single Friday afternoon.
And just dump everything in there.
Not everything. You need to track major projects completed, specific problems you solved, revenue generated, and new skills you've acquired.
And it's not just, hey, I did my job, right? Like, answering my emails doesn't count.
No, checking email is the baseline expectation for the salary you already have. You need to document the value you added. And a really key part of this is external validation.
What do you mean by external?
Like, did a client send an email praising your work? Screenshot it. Did a stakeholder from another department thank you for saving a project from going off the rails? Put it in the doc.
Oh, that makes total sense. It removes the subjectivity. It's not just you saying I'm great, it's the client saying it.
Exactly.
But let's look at how we phrase these wins. The source material had some really stark comparisons between a weak case and a strong case.
This is where people trip up so often. A weak case focuses entirely on effort. They say things like, I worked really hard on this, or I put in a lot of overtime last month.
But wait, isn't overtime valuable? If I'm grinding until 8 p.m. every night, surely that's worth something to the company.
To you, yes, it feels valuable. To the business, effort does not equal results. In fact, think about it. If you're working 60 hours to do a 40-hour job, that might actually signal inefficiency to some managers.
Ouch. That is harsh.
It is, but it's true. A strong case quantifies the impact of the work. You have to use numbers.
Okay, give me an example of that. Instead of saying I improved the intake process, what am I saying?
You say, I optimized the intake workflow, reducing processing time by 30%, which saves the team 10 collective hours per week.
Yeah, that is hard to argue with. Numbers are a universal language.
They really are. Or instead of saying, I did a good job on the product launch, you say, I delivered the project 2 weeks ahead of schedule, which allowed us to capture the Q3 budget cycle.
That is undeniable business impact.
Exactly. You are speaking the language of the person who is actually signing the check.
Okay, so you're tracking your wins, you're quantifying your value. Now we get to the scary part, the number. How do you know what number to actually put on the table? Because if I ask for way too much, I look completely delusional.
But if you ask for too little, you're just leaving money on the table.
Right.
You cannot negotiate effectively if you do not know the market rate. This is where you absolutely have to do the research, and guessing or just asking one buddy in the industry isn't enough.
The source lists some specific tools for this. Glassdoor is a classic one everyone knows, but I've always found their numbers a bit generic. Sometimes they feel like they're pulling from data that's 2 or 3 years old.
Glassdoor is a decent starting point, but you're right, it can be outdated. The text highly recommends levels.fi, especially if you are in the tech sector. It's extremely granular. PayScale and LinkedIn Salary Insights are also solid tools to use.
But what about the recruiter hack? I thought that was a super interesting point in the reading.
Oh, it's the most accurate data point you can possibly get. Even if you aren't actively looking to leave your job, talking to a recruiter can give you a very clear, completely unfiltered picture of what your skills are worth on the open market right now.
Because they are placing people every day.
Exactly. A recruiter will look at your resume and tell you straight up, with your experience, I can place you at $120,000 tomorrow. That is your real-time market value.
But here's the nuance that always drives me crazy when I look this stuff up. I search for my job title, and the salary range is just massive. It's like $80,000 to $130,000. How do I know where I fall in a $50,000 spread?
A range is just a range.
Yeah.
Your specific number depends on a bunch of variables. Location is a big one. Geography still matters, even in the era of remote work. Company size matters too.
Right, a startup versus a massive corporation.
Exactly. If you are at a Series B startup in New York, that compensation package looks very different than a nonprofit in the Midwest. And your specific skills matter.
And I assume your level of experience plays a massive role in where you land in that range.
Huge. If you are brand new to the role, you're likely in the bottom quartile. But if you have unique institutional knowledge like, say you're the only person in the building who knows how the legacy software code works, you should be pushing for the very top of that bracket.
Because you are harder to replace.
Exactly. You have leverage.
Okay, let's talk timing. Because even if you have all the data and the perfect wins document, asking at the wrong moment can just blow the whole thing up. Is there really a perfect time to ask?
Perfect is rare, but you definitely want to stack the deck in your favor. Obviously, right after a major win is best.
You just saved the company $100 grand.
Ask. You just shipped a massive product that everyone loves. Ask.
And I assume we need to be aware of the company's financial calendar, too.
Absolutely. If the CEO just announced a highly profitable quarter on the all-hands call, that's a green light. If they are in the middle of budget planning for next year, that is the exact time to get your number in.
Because once that budget is locked in...
Once it's set, moving the needle is 10 times harder. You're fighting an uphill battle.
And what about the red lights? The times you absolutely should not ask.
Layoffs, hiring freezes, that's obvious. Or, and this requires some basic emotional intelligence, right after your boss had a terrible day or delivered some bad news.
Read the room, basically.
Yes, read the room. Do not ask for a raise when the ship is actively taking on water.
Okay, so we have the wins, we have the number, and the timing is right. Now you have to actually have the conversation. The source outlines a 5-step script for this. And step 1 seems incredibly obvious, but apparently people mess it up all the time.
Step 1 is simply request the meeting. Do not ambush your boss.
So no catching them in the hallway and saying, hey, do you have a sec?
Never. Never do that. You want them prepared and in the right headspace? Send an email. Keep it professional. Say something like, hi, I'd like to schedule some time to discuss my compensation career path. Do you have 30 minutes this week?
It sets a formal tone.
Right. It signals that this is a serious business discussion, not just a casual chat over coffee.
Okay, so we're in the room. We're on the Zoom call. Step 2 is making the case.
You start positive.
Yeah.
In negotiation, this is called anchoring the relationship. You say, I love working here. I've really enjoyed leading these recent projects. Then you hit them with the achievements, the specific quantified numbers right from your win stock.
And then you pivot to the market data you found.
Exactly. You say, I've been researching the current market rate for this level of responsibility.
And then you drop the number. Based on my performance in the market research, I'd like to discuss adjusting my salary to X.
And then comes step 3, the most critical step in the entire process, and the one the source material says 90% of people completely fail at.
Which is?
Shut up and listen.
Oh, man. The silence. The awkward, excruciating silence.
It is physically painful for a lot of people. You state your number, and then you just stop talking. Do not fill the silence. Do not apologize.
And whatever you do not say, or whatever you think is fair.
Yes. Never say that.
Why is that urge so incredibly strong? Like, why do we feel the physical need to backtrack the second the number leaves our lips?
Because we are socially conditioned to avoid conflict. Like we talked about earlier, we feel greedy. We feel like we've just broken a polite social rule. So your brain is screaming at you, fix it. Soften the blow.
We make everyone comfortable again.
Right. But in any negotiation, the person who speaks first after the offer is on the table loses leverage.
So silence is actually a tool.
Silence creates pressure. It forces the other person to process the information and respond to your number, rather than responding to your sudden insecurity. If you backtrack, you've literally just negotiated against yourself before they even open their mouth.
So you sit there, you're sweating, and you wait for them to speak. Eventually they will. Step 4 is handling their response. If they say yes, obviously we celebrate.
Right. You celebrate internally, but outwardly you need to pin down the details. You say, great, when exactly will this go into effect? Don't let them leave it vague.
But let's be real. Usually they don't just say yes right away. They say, I need to ask HR, or I need to think about it.
Which is often a stall tactic. Or it could be legitimate bureaucracy. Either way, you need a timeline. You say, I totally understand. Can we touch base on this decision next Tuesday?
Right. Don't just let it drift into the ether for 6 months.
Exactly. Keep the ball rolling.
Now let's talk about the dreaded no, or the classic, we just can't do that much right now.
You have to pivot. Do not just say okay and walk away with your tail between your legs. You ask diagnostic questions.
Like what?
Like, can you help me understand what prevents us from getting to that number right now? Or is there a clear path to get to this salary in the next 6 months?
I like that. You're turning it back into a collaborative problem-solving session.
Exactly. You're asking them to work with you on a solution.
Let's dig a bit deeper into the no, because the source makes a really interesting point here. A no isn't just a flat rejection, it's actually information.
It's incredibly high-value data. If they say no, you need to know why. Is it a company-wide budget freeze, meaning the company literally has no cash to give anyone? Is it a strict policy band issue from HR? Or, and this is the scary one for people, is it a performance issue?
Yeah, if they say, look, we just don't think you're operating at that level yet, that hurts. But it's really good to know.
It is clarity. If it's a performance gap, you can ask for a concrete roadmap. You say, what specific metrics do I need to hit by next quarter to get to this salary?
But what if it's a budget freeze? Like, legitimately, the money is frozen across the board. Does that mean the negotiation is just over?
Not at all. But you can't get blood from a stone. This is exactly where you pivot to non-monetary compensation.
The stuff that isn't cash but still has real value to your life.
Exactly. If the salary budget is locked down, often the benefits budget or departmental budget is completely separate.
Yeah.
They give you more paid time off.
Oh, extra PTO is huge.
To some people, an extra week of paid vacation is worth thousands of dollars in actual quality of life.
Flexible schedules are a massive bargaining chip right now, too.
Remote work days, summer Fridays. Or how about a professional development budget? If the company pays $3,000 for a certification that increases your market value, That is literally money in your pocket down the line.
What about job titles? The text had a pretty nuanced take on negotiating for titles. Sometimes they seem like just vanity plates.
Titles are weird. You obviously can't pay your rent with a fancy title. However, titles are absolutely vital for your next job.
How so?
If you are already doing the work of a senior manager, but your official title is still just coordinator, external recruiters are going to overlook your resume. Getting that title bump, even without the raise, sets you up for a much higher salary bracket when you eventually leave. It signals seniority to the external market.
But the text also warned us about the inflated title.
Oh, right. Beware the chief rock star or the data ninja.
Right, I've seen those on LinkedIn.
Those are cued internally, maybe, but they are incredibly confusing to the external market. And you really have to be careful if a company uses a title bump just to shut you up about the money.
Like a promotion in name only.
Exactly. If you get a senior title, but you stay at your junior salary, you are now officially underpaid for your title. You took on the expectations without the compensation.
Speaking of paying rent, we need to talk about the math. The source calls it the uncomfortable math.
This is the section that really wakes people up. We have to talk about inflation and your actual purchasing power.
Break it down for us. Because we hear, hey, you got a 3% raise, and we naturally think, awesome, I have more money.
Let's look at the raw numbers. If inflation is running at 5%, meaning the cost of groceries, gas, and your rent went up 5% this year, and your company gives you a standard 3% cost of living adjustment, what actually happened?
Mathematically speaking, my paycheck has 3% more dollars in it.
But those dollars buy less than they did last year. In terms of your actual purchasing power, you effectively just took a 2% pay cut. You were literally poorer than you were last year, despite the supposed raise.
That is deeply depressing. So standard cost of living adjustments usually just mean you're barely treading water?
Often they don't even manage that. To actually grow your income, to get wealthier rather than just stagnate, you need raises that are significantly above the rate of inflation. Depending on the economic climate, you're looking for 6%, 8%, or even 10% jumps just to see real growth.
And let's be totally honest here. How often do companies give 10% raises to people who are just staying in their exact same role?
Rarely. Unless there is a major promotion involved, standard retention budgets are usually hard capped at 3 to 5%. And that harsh reality leads us directly to the job-hopping truth.
I feel like this is the piece of advice everyone in the industry whispers to each other, but companies absolutely hate to hear it said out loud.
The data is undeniable on this. The biggest salary jumps usually come from leaving your company.
It's the loyalty penalty rearing its head again.
It really is. If you stay, you get the standard 3%. If you leave for a new job, the average jump is often 15 to 20%.
But why does that gap even exist? Why on earth would a company pay a total stranger more money than a known, reliable entity?
It's the difference between a retention budget and an acquisition budget. To hire someone brand new, the company's forced to pay the current real-time market rate. To keep you, they only have to pay slightly more than what you're already used to making.
That feels like such a broken system. It practically forces turnover.
It is efficient for the company in the short term, but yeah, it's very expensive for them in the long run with recruiting costs. But for you, the employee, it means you have to be willing to walk away to realize your full market value. You have to be ready to essentially fire your employer.
Before we wrap up today, there is another systemic issue we absolutely have to touch on, the pay gap. The source material was very clear that this whole process isn't just about individual negotiation skills.
We really can't ignore it. The data consistently shows that systemic pay inequities still exist. Women and people of color are often paid less for the exact same work. And the standard just ask for it advice can be pretty complicated here because the social dynamics and biases are very real.
So if the playing field isn't level to begin with, what are the actionable steps for the listener?
The first line of defense is aggressive market research. If you know the hard numbers, it's much harder for a hiring manager to gaslight you or lowball your offer.
And transparency seems to be a major theme here.
It is your absolute best weapon. Think about it. The only reason a company can get away with paying a woman 20% less than her male counterpart is because neither of them knows what the other makes. Discussing salary breaks that advantage completely.
I remember early in my career, a manager literally told me it was a fireable offense to discuss wages with my coworkers.
Which, by the way, in many jurisdictions is actually illegal for them to say. But they say it because secrecy protects the inequality. Talking to your colleagues, as awkward as it feels at first, is an act of solidarity that raises the floor for everyone involved.
And supporting broad transparency initiatives too, right? Like posting salary ranges right in the job ads.
Absolutely. If the range is public from day one, the wage gap has nowhere to hide in the dark.
Okay, this has been a lot of incredible information. We've covered the mindset shift, the wins tracking, the script, the power of silence, and that really uncomfortable inflation math. Let's try to distill this all down. If the listener takes just one single thing away from this deep dive today, what is the core philosophy they need to adopt?
The core philosophy is that you are a business of one. You are not a family member of the corporation. You are a service provider. You need to consistently research your market value, document the quality of your product, which is your daily work, and systematically ask for the price you deserve.
And we have to be fully prepared for the answer to be no.
Yes. And this is the hardest part for people. If the answer is no, and there is no clear path forward offered, and no non-monetary fix that makes you happy, that is a signal. It is a loud, clear signal to take your business elsewhere.
Believe their actions, not their words.
Exactly. They can tell you how much they appreciate you, how you're a vital, irreplaceable part of the team, but appreciation doesn't pay your rent. If the market says you are worth X and they are paying you Y, they are making a cold business decision to underpay you.
I want to leave everyone with a final thought from our deep dive today. It's something for you to mull over before your next Monday morning alarm goes off.
They fair?
Your employer has already made a calculated business decision about what to pay you. That number on your pay stub, that's not an accident, that's their business decision. The ball is now completely in your court to make your own business decision about whether that number is acceptable. So, is it?
That is the ultimate question.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.